We all want to be great, but nobody wants to be a beginner. It's a strange little paradox we carry around in our pockets every day, isn't it? We crave the final applause, the mastery, and the ease of an expert, but we absolutely loathe the messy, stumbling journey it takes to get there. We see the masters on the stage, and we imagine they were born with a gift we simply lack, a silver thread of talent woven into their DNA that makes everything look so incredibly effortless and graceful. We call it talent because that is the easiest way to let ourselves off the hook for not trying something new, for staying safe within the boundaries of what we already know how to do well. If it's just fate, then it's not our fault that we are still sitting here on the couch, staring at the wall, while the world moves on without our participation or our growth. But then there's that heavy, intimidating number that keeps appearing in our feeds and our books lately. 10,000 hours to become an expert in any given field. 10,000 hours. It sounds like a life sentence, a mountain so tall that the peak is permanently lost in the clouds, making the valley look like the only sensible place to live. It's a number so large that our brains just sort of shut down and go back to scrolling for easy distractions that don't require any effort or any risk of failure at all. It makes us want to give up before we have even laced up our shoes or picked up the pen or touched the first cold string of a guitar we found in the attic. But Josh Kaufman came along and shifted the goalposts in a way that is actually quite unsettling and uncomfortable to think about if you really value your excuses. He says you don't need 10,000 hours to be good at something. You only need 20 hours of focused, deliberate practice to reach a level of functional competence. 20 hours. That is just 45 minutes a day for a single month of your life, which is probably less time than we spend looking at photos of other people's lunches. It sounds like a gimmick, doesn't it? A clever little shortcut designed for a generation that has forgotten how to wait for anything longer than a microwave timer to beep. But when you look at the mechanics of how we actually learn, the logic starts to feel a bit heavy and surprisingly real. Like a secret we've been trying to keep from ourselves. Most of the value in any new skill is hidden right at the very beginning, in those first few percentages of knowledge that allow you to actually do the thing, however poorly. It's about the Pareto principle, that 80 to 20 rule. We're always hearing about the idea that 20% of the effort is what actually gives you 80% of the results you want. The first step, he says, is to deconstruct the skill into its smallest, most manageable pieces so that you aren't overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the task in front of you. You don't try to learn the piano as a whole. You try to learn how to play a basic C major scale with one hand without looking down at your fingers every single second. You break the mountain into tiny, harmless pebbles, and suddenly the path forward doesn't look so impossible or so terrifyingly steep anymore as you stand at the base. Then you have to learn just enough to self-correct, which is where the actual mental labor and the true friction of growth begins to grind against your old, comfortable habits. You have to be able to hear that you are out of tune or notice that your posture is wrong before you can actually begin to fix the mistake and move forward. It requires a level of your attention that most of us have forgotten how to sustain in this noisy, fragmented world that constantly begs for our focus and our outrage. We are so used to being half there that being all there for 45 minutes feels like a physical strain on the mind, like a muscle we haven't used in a decade. Then comes the part that everyone secretly hates more than anything else, removing the barriers to actual practice and making it harder to quit than it is to continue. You have to turn off the phone. You have to close the door. You have to be alone with yourself and the silence of your own initial, embarrassing incompetence. We think we are afraid of the hard work, But I think we are actually afraid of the silence that comes with doing something we aren't already praised for doing well. When the screen goes dark, you are left with just your own clumsy hands and your own slow, confused thoughts, and there is nowhere left to hide from your own limitations. Finally, the rule says you have to commit to at least 20 hours of this focused, uncomfortable work before you are allowed to even think about giving up and walking away. It is a contract you sign with your future self to be absolutely terrible at something for a very specific, measurable amount of time, with no immediate reward in sight. The first 5 hours are pure, unadulterated frustration. There is no magic way to avoid that pain, no matter how many books you read or how many tutorials you watch on the internet. Everything you do feels like a mistake. Your brain feels like it is full of thick, grey, suffocating fog that makes every single movement feel twice as heavy as it should be. You start to wonder if Kaufman was wrong, or if you are just the one person in the world who can't be taught, the one who lacks that mysterious, golden thread of talent. But this is the frustration barrier. It is the gatekeeper of every single new skill we ever try to acquire, the wall that separates those who do from those who just watch. Most people turn back here. They decide they don't have the knack for it, and they go back to the valley where everything is familiar and nobody expects them to be different. But maybe talent is just the ability to tolerate being bad for a little bit longer than everyone else is willing to stay in the room when the lights are low and the music is off. I tried this with a new language last year, just wanting to be able to navigate a local market without feeling like a helpless ghost in a city that didn't know my name. Hour 3 felt like I was trying to eat a bowl of hot soup with a plastic fork. It was pointless, messy, and I felt like a fool for even trying to speak the words out loud. I kept trying to find a logical pattern where there was only chaos and strange, and familiar vowel sounds that didn't seem to belong in the same sentence as each other. I felt like a child again, but without the childhood luxury of having no ego to protect from the judgment of the world or the judgment of my own internal critic. My ego was shouting at me to stop, to go back to something I was already important and good at, something that didn't make me feel so small and so incredibly slow. It's a very vulnerable thing, to feel your own intelligence failing you in real time while you watch. But that vulnerability is exactly where the new connections are actually being made. But then, somewhere around hour 12, something in the middle of that thick grey fog started to shift, almost like the sun hitting the water for the first time in a long winter. I didn't have to translate the basic greeting in my head anymore. The word just existed on its own, without a shadow of my own language trying to pull it back into the familiar. It was a tiny, insignificant victory to anyone else, but it felt like I had just discovered fire in a very cold and dark cave, and it was enough to keep me moving for another hour. I realized that the madness Kaufman talks about isn't about being smart or naturally gifted or having some kind of superhuman discipline that nobody else can ever hope to achieve. It's about being stubborn. It is about refusing to let the grey fog win the argument for just one more 45-minute session, even when your brain is begging for a distraction. But there is a shadow side to this 20-hour rule that I've been sitting with lately. A question that doesn't quite have a comfortable or a neat answer for us to take home. If we can learn almost anything in 20 hours, does anything we learn actually have a soul? Or is it just another surface we've learned how to polish for the world to see? Are we just becoming a society of pretty good people who never go deep into the heart of anything because the heart takes more time than we are willing to give it? We collect these little surface-level skills like they are plastic trophies on a dusty digital shelf, showing them off until their novelty wears off, and we look for the next thing. We can play 3 songs, speak 5 phrases, and cook 1 impressive meal for our friends. But do we actually know the thing? Or are we just very good at the performance of it? I think about my guitar, sitting there in the corner of my room right now, gathering a fine layer of grey dust while I talk to you about the importance of trying new things. I finished my 20 hours, and then I just stopped. I moved on to the next shiny object, the next challenge that promised to make me feel new and exciting for a moment. The mystery was gone, and without the mystery, the motivation just sort of evaporated into the air, leaving me with a skill that is functional but entirely without any depth. It makes me wonder if we are addicted to the *act* of learning, rather than the *skill* we are actually chasing, always looking for that initial rush of the aha moment. We love the feeling of the light coming on, but we hate the long, quiet, dusty grind that follows the discovery, the part where you have to decide if you really love the work. Is that a lack of discipline, or is it just the way our restless, modern brains are wired to function now that everything is available to us at the touch of a glowing screen? We are hunters and gatherers of information, always looking for the next horizon to conquer, but maybe we are losing the ability to actually settle down and live in the land. If you're still listening to this, I wonder what your 20-hour madness is waiting to be. That thing you've been avoiding because you were afraid of the first 5 hours of being bad. Maybe it's not about becoming an expert or a master. Maybe it's just about proving to yourself that you haven't stopped changing yet, that you aren't a finished book quite yet. I think I'm going to go pick up that guitar now. I'll probably be terrible, and I'll probably struggle to remember the chords I thought I knew by heart just a few months ago. But being terrible is a lot more honest than just sitting here and pretending that I already have all the answers or that I don't need to grow anymore to be happy. We all want to be great, but maybe the greatness is just in being willing to be a beginner one more time, even when the world expects you to already know exactly what you're doing. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode.